Serbia is planning to poison itself. In 2004, during a mining exploration mission in western Serbia, an incredible discovery occurred: a new mineral, jadarite. Consisting of two basic elements, lithium and boron, this new mineral was one of a kind, extremely valuable, and only found in Serbia. In an ever more digital and electronics-reliant world, lithium has become more coveted than any other element in the world. Mainly used in the manufacturing of batteries, lithium plays a crucial role in practically any modern-day electronic device, such as smartphones, laptops, electric cars, drones, and especially when it comes to electric grid storage systems. As the world is trying to transition to utilizing renewable energy, batteries and by default lithium have become ever more coveted, which has caused the demand for the precious element to skyrocket. As such, the discovery of a new mineral in Serbia that was abundant with the element was the equivalent of discovering an untapped gold mine on steroids, or so it seemed. In 2017, the Serbian government led by President Aleksandar Vučić signed a memorandum of understanding with the multinational mining conglomerate known as Rio Tinto. The memorandum aimed to allow the company to further exploration within the Jadar Valley, the place where the mineral was found and named after, and also begin the process of setting the stage for further developments. The following couple of years, further agreements would be signed where both Rio Tinto and the Serbian government would work together and begin with the development of the Jadar project, the construction of one of, if not the largest lithium mines in Europe and lithium processing plant. On paper, the Jadar mine would produce around 58,000 tons of lithium annually, which would supply about 30% of the EU's current demand of the element. Some sources claim it would even meet up to 90% of demand, make Serbia Europe's top producer of lithium, bring in a foreign investment worth over 2.3 billion euros, and tremendously boost the country's financial situation. Sounds great, doesn't it? Well, in reality, things are much more complicated. Soon after the announcement of Project Jadar, Serbs all over the country started looking into the project and what it actually entailed, and it didn't look pretty. First and foremost, to even access Jadarite on an industrial scale, grave environmental destruction is needed. To open up the mine, the surrounding fields, forests, and villages would need to be demolished via the use of explosives. As such, wildlife and human settlement would be severely disrupted. On top of that, several villages would need to be wiped off the map, and the people living in them would have to be resettled for the mine to even start production. This on its own presents a great problem to the Serbian people, as many have deep historical ties to the land where they live and work, as generations of their ancestors resided in the same place. Secondly, the ore being mined to be made functional needs to undergo several chemical processes in an effort to extract the pure lithium and borate. The process to do so would involve complex chemical processes that would utilize industrial level chemicals. This refinement process would then have detrimental consequences to the environment via air, soil, and water pollution. On its own, lithium is an extremely toxic element to all organic matter. When mixed with a body of water, the water becomes unusable for virtually all living creatures, which if consumed in any way, shape, or form can produce a plethora of ailments and even cause death. To extract lithium while drilling for it, large amounts of water are pumped into the hole that is being drilled. It is estimated that 2.2 million liters of water are needed to produce a ton of lithium. This would be the equivalent of using 1,320 liters of water to clean this 600-gram basketball, which is 17 large boilers of water if you were showering for over 2 hours straight. All of that water is dirtied just so you can have a clean, usable, single basketball. With this in mind, water used in the mining of the element inevitably becomes toxic if left untreated. Alongside this, Any escaping water from the mine can and will seep into the soil, which will make growing crops and plants much more difficult, and the ones that would be able to sprout from this land would carry with it the toxin of lithium and other pollutants. It doesn't take a genius to come to the conclusion that this will then ultimately end up in the bodies of humans and animals that consume these plants, causing them indirect harm. Alongside this, the absurd need for extracting lithium also deprives the agricultural sector of water, which in turn causes drought and a decrease in crop yield. As I mentioned before, the Jadar Valley where the mine is envisioned to be constructed is in an area of Serbia which heavily relies on agriculture for its economy, as the vast majority of the populace works in the field. Going through with the Jadar project would heavily impact the lives of hundreds of thousands in the area by making agriculture significantly more difficult and impose the risk of exposure to health-endangering chemicals. As I mentioned before in my previous video, China is killing the Balkans. Serbia is known for not doing much, if anything, about factories poisoning villages. The Jadar River is quite prone to flooding. If a flood were to occur in the mine, it is inevitable that lithium and other chemicals would be exposed to the water, which would pollute the water supply and the river's surrounding area. What makes the situation even more dire is that the Jadar is a tributary to the Drina, which flows into the Sava, which flows into the Danube, which ultimately flows into the Black Sea. So the exposure of these chemicals to the Jadar would ultimately not only endanger the immediate surrounding area, but also all the agricultural lands through which these rivers pass, which could potentially endanger millions of people, not only Serbs, but also Romanians, Bulgarians, and cause unprecedented ecological detriment to any and all animals found in these waters. To add salt on the wound, Rio Tinto officially denies that the Jadar Valley can flood, even though practically all scientists are in consensus of this. Despite these grave dangers and mass protests throughout the country, the Serbian government has still been pushing for the realization of this project under the table. Although the construction of the mine has been frozen, the government has made more concessions for Rio Tinto in the effort to acquire land in the Jadar Valley area. The EU as well, despite having on paper a strict green environmental policy, has been a strong proponent in the mine to be built. So much so that in June 2025, Brussels formally designated the Jadar mine as the project of strategic critical raw material value. In an effort to ease the minds of the populace, the European Union has claimed that the mine would be run according to EU laws and regulations, despite Serbia not being a member country and Rio Tinto not belonging nor operating within an EU nation. The EU has gone so far in pushing for the realization of this project that many EU functionaries have gone on the record to claim that concerns over the environmental impact of the mine are a result of Russian disinformation, which is just, I have no words. Okay, but let's assume that the EU is being truthful and that they would take into account the severe environmental effects this project would have and that filtering precautions would be taken in the realization of the Jadar mine. Who is really in charge of the extraction? Well, as I mentioned before, that would be Rio Tinto. On the surface, Rio Tinto is one of, if not the biggest mining conglomerates in the world. Founded in 1873 with dual headquarters in London, UK and Melbourne, Australia, that specializes in the extraction of iron, aluminum, copper, uranium, diamonds, and as of late, lithium. However, despite its seemingly prestigious size and longevity, the company has been implicated in numerous scandals. In 2020, the company, in an effort to conduct their mining activities, destroyed a 46,000-year-old sacred Aboriginal cave site in Australia filled with ancient artifacts and human remains. This site was not only sacred to the indigenous Aboriginal population, but also one of the most valuable archaeological sites in the entirety of Australia. After an internal investigation, the company sanctioned itself by only depriving 2 of its executives of bonuses for that year. In Papua New Guinea, where the company operated several mines, it did not take necessary measures in treating the water in the town of Panguna, which as a result has completely killed all biodiversity within the river and caused lasting health effects to the island's inhabitants. The same mine in Penguna in Bougainville, Papua New Guinea, was also a cause for a civil war within the country. Since 1975, the mine has been the main cash cow of the island. Built by Rio Tinto, it gave the government 20% of profits and the citizens between 0.5 to 1.25%. In 1998, the inhabitants of the island revolted as they were getting peanuts from the profits generated by the mine. Meanwhile, at the same time, the mine was also decimating their environment, causing floods and poisoning the local inhabitants. In the civil war that ensued, the manager of the mine in Bougainville supported the government in blockading the island, which was causing mass starvation at the time. In 2001, the citizens of the island officially filed a lawsuit for genocide against the company in the United States, which ultimately got dismissed after the legal battle went on for over 10 years. Over the course of its long and tumultuous history, the company has paid numerous fines in the millions of dollars, collaborated with the fascist Franco regime in Spain, and even supported apartheid in South Africa, all of which resulted in Norway blacklisting the company from its country. Despite this, the Serbian government and the executives from Rio Tinto, alongside with functionaries from the EU, have continuously tried to reassure the Serbian population that the process of extraction will be safe and environmental safety precautions will be taken, even though neither the Serbian government nor Rio Tinto have published any concrete plans on how this would be achieved, making the Jadar project incredibly untransparent. Additional concerns over the project rose up with the collapse of the Novi Sad train station's canopy that ended up killing 16 people. This relatively minor renovation project ended up being disastrous for the Serbian government as it publicly exposed the ruling party's corruption, lack of transparency, and unwillingness to take responsibility. As such, the building of the Jadar mine is viewed with even higher skepticism than before by the public, as the trust in the government's competency is at an all-time low. If they could mess up a single train station renovation so badly, who's to say what the results could be if they were to handle a project of this scale and the potential to devastate the entire region's environment? Hell, due to the corruption within the government, many are even questioning how much money the average Serbian citizen would garner from the revenue generated by the Jadar project. As in the past, we've seen notoriously high invoices for government projects that shouldn't have reached the price range they did, and with the established lack of transparency, it is completely unknown whether or not anyone outside of the elite party circles would benefit from the mine. But even so, there are definitely some strong benefits to the project's execution. As I've mentioned before, lower estimates indicate that Serbia alone could supply 30% of the EU's demand for lithium, while higher ones state that it could do so up to 90%. As the EU becomes even more reliant on green energy and electric vehicles, this project would grant Serbia tremendous amounts of leverage when it comes to politics within the EU. By controlling vast amounts of a vital resource like lithium, Serbia could flip the table when it comes to its EU accession and the status of Kosovo. Generally, countries do not follow a moral compass but ally with each other based on their own interests. If Serbia had more to offer than Kosovo via this mine, we could potentially see withdrawals of recognition of Kosovo, or even indifference to potential Serbian military action against it. Or possibly Serbia joining the EU much sooner, or even forcing better bilateral treaties with the EU. Even though, with the lack of transparency, it is extremely hard to know how much money this mine would generate for Serbia and how much would be lost due to corruption, it is still certain that Serbia would receive a ginormous economic boost. By exporting this amount of lithium, a large sum of money would enter the country's monetary system via tax revenue, which could help in revitalizing public sector institutions such as healthcare, education, and other infrastructure projects. With that, we could also see a potential domino effect when it comes to economic activity, as a boost in revenue stimulates the growth of new and established businesses. But ultimately, that would all be speculation. the Jadar project could go in either direction. But due to Serbia's and Rio Tinto's more than questionable track record, it is much more likely that the project backfires and causes incredible damage to the country, its people, and potentially even its neighbors. But what do you think? Should Serbia go through with the Jadar project? Do the costs outweigh the benefits? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you to the members who support this channel, and if you wish to do so, become one like these guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Janos, and you watched Living Ironically in Europe.
Hey, why are you leaving?